Hey guys, I want to finish my card review. This is part 3, so if you missed the other 2 parts, they should be on YouTube. We finally see all the cards at once. I don't really want to make a video going all over the cards again. My opinion has changed on some of the cards, but you can just ask me that on stream or in the comments below. Nature's Warden, or as what people like to call Jungle Warden number 2. It's a 5 play point, 4/5 with Ward. And Fanfare Enhanced 9 summons another Nature's Warden. Select enemy follower. It can't attack next turn. Now, not as powerful as the old Jungle Warden, which was Enhanced 10, and they both gain Storm. You still get 2 wards for 9, which is good. And you get to make it so an enemy follower can't attack, which is pretty strong tempo. Maybe in a control forest this might be okay. We kind of got to a point in Shadowverse where a 5 play point, 4/5 with a ward is not as good as it used to be. This is like a 2.5. Next we have the other legendary for Forcecraft, a 2 play point, 2/2 Machina card. With Fanfare, if at least 2 other cards were played this turn, deal X damage to an enemy follower. X equals the number of other Machina cards in your hand. If at least 3 cards have been played this turn, deal 2 damage to an enemy on his evolve, and gets full stats on evolve. Very strong card. Very, very strong card. Will definitely replace Rain in your deck. Even without the Machina cards in hand, this is a pretty strong evolve effect. But if you have the Machina cards in hand, this card's really good. I'm sure some kind of tempo Machina Forcecraft might be a thing. Cleft gets a 4 out of 5. We have Dauntless Commander, 2 play point, 1/3. This is part of the cycle of Enhanced 7. There is a cycle of 2 drops for every class, and they all have like Enhanced 7 gain some extra stats. So he gets 4/4, and gives another allied follower +2 defense to all other allied followers. That's pretty good. And she has the effect during your turn whenever another allied follower evolves, give it +2 defense. One of the weaker effects, I think. +2 defense is nice, but it doesn't really affect the board that much. It just makes it a little tougher for the opponent to remove that evolved follower. Her Enhanced 7 is pretty good. Decent card for take 2. I don't think it really gets a spot in mid-range Swordcraft right now. This card gets a 2.5 out of 5. Mecha Blade Soldier, 6 play point, 4/6 Machina card. Whenever this follower attacks, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. If there is another allied Machina follower in play, deal 2 damage instead. So on first glance he looks pretty weak, but he has the Machina trait, which synergizes really well with the other Machina sword cards. And he can gain Rush if you have Joanne as well. So this card with Rush is a lot stronger. By himself, he's probably like a 2. But if he might be able to fit into a Machina Swordcraft list if they're desperate for Machina cards, then he might be like a 2.5, maybe even a 3. But right now, I don't think he really fits in. It's kind of costs too much. First up we have Golem's Rampage, 5 play point spell. Summon 2 clay golems. Deal X damage to enemy follower, X equals number of allied clay golems in play. Earthright, give +1/+1 to all allied clay golems. This reminds me a lot of Night Horde. Night Horde cost 1 less play point but gives you 2 bats instead, but bats are much easier to make than clay golems. This is a decent card. If you have 1 clay golem in play, this does 3 damage and creates 2 bodies, and if you have an Earthright, then it's even better. I think without having 1 clay golem already in play, this spell's kind of weak. It comes with a lot of tempo if you get to remove something, but 2 damage isn't a lot, so having that extra clay golem is definitely going to be worth the place card. I think it's like a 2.5. Has potential. Next we have Mecha Staff Sorcerer, 4.33 Machina card. Fanfare, if at least 2 other Machina cards are in your hand, deal 3 damage to an enemy. This is a very aggressive card. The 3 damage should go to the opponent's face. I don't know if Machina Sword is going to be Machina Rune's going to be a thing. Judging this card, it might be because it's very strong. This card says 3 out of 5, but that doesn't mean Machina Rune's going to be playable. Next, I have Mechanized Lifeform, 2 play point 3/1 Machina card. Whenever you play another Machina card, draw a card. That's fine. Usually you'd probably want to draw at least 2 cards if you have to play a pretty badly statted follower. 1 life is really weak. It dies to everything. This card is a 2.5 just because the potential of drawing cards is good. Magitech Golem, 3 play point 3/2 with whenever you play another Machina follower. Deal 2 damage to a random enemy follower. Again, pretty poorly statted. 3/2 dies to a lot of things as well. Evolve, put a repair mode in your hand. That's nice for spell boost, but if you're playing Machina Rune, you're probably not running too many spell boost cards. Potentially, we could see a spell boost Machina hybrid list. Yeah. This again, I'm gonna give this another 2.5. I think they are solid cards. I just don't know if there's enough synergy to make them work. Overwhelming Crush, 4 play point spell. Destroy enemy follower. If overflows act for you, put a random Dragoncraft follower from your deck into your hand. This is a pretty nice card. Just destroy enemy follower for 4 is pretty low in tempo, but if you have to draw a card, specifically a Dragoncraft follower, if you have a deck that's full of spells and amulets, you can use this to find your Lindworm potentially. Not much use that I can think of it outside of that, since most of your early game followers in Dragoncraft right now just make better removal spells than this. So this card gets a 2 out of 5 for now, but it has some uses. Next we have Doting Dragoneer, 2 play point 1/3. This is the Enhance 7 cycle. This gets +4/+4 and summon a Fire Drake, and during your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, summon a Fire Drake Whelp. 1 play point 1/1, last turn deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower. That's very good for maybe an aggressive Dragoncraft list. Yeah, I can see this being played in Aggro Dragon. This gets a 3 out of 5 for me. It's one of the better ones, I think, for the Enhanced 7 2-drops. Next we have Soaring Dragonoot, 1 play point 0/1. Can't be attacked. Whenever you play a spell, summon this, evolve this follower. And whenever his follower attacks, randomly discard 1 of the lowest cost cards from your hand and then draw a card. It's not very good unless you are using other cards that synergize with the evolve or synergize with the random discard. Right now, I don't think there's any dragon cards that synergize with the random discard right now. But there is cards that synergize with the evolve, like Odin, which I'll be going over later. It's a 1-drop, but the stats are very poor. Yeah, you can't use Rending on this without it dying. That's a pretty big downside. It's a Machina follower, which could be pretty relevant. I'll put it in the middle ground again. I think it's a 2.5 until we figure out where this card goes. I don't think it's bad. Next we have Bryon, 2 play point 2/2. Machina. Whenever another allied follower comes into play, give it +1 attack. And evolve. Summon a Assembly Droid. Whenever another allied follower comes into play, give it 1 attack. Whenever another allied Machina follower comes into play, give it +1 defense. So Assembly Droid is going to come out. It's going to be a 2/2. which is like already pretty good. Yeah, he just buffs your board and makes more bodies. A very aggressive card. But maybe play it in a ramp deck just for some early game tempo. Works pretty well with the Doting Dragoneer. With the Doting Dragoneer in play, the Firewhelp will come out and it'll also get 1 attack, which is very nice. I think this card's about a 3.5 out of 5. Soul Steal, 3 play point spell, deal 4 damage to enemy follower, Burial Rite, draw a card. So Burial Rite, if you didn't know, takes a follower from your hand, you choose it, and it will put it onto the board, it will silence it, and then it will destroy it. Now you do this so you can resurrect that follower later in the game. And then after you do that, you will draw a card. So you just kind of replace a card in your hand. It's kind of weak without really strong resurrection synergies, which you don't have right now. You don't have any really strong resurrection abilities. There's better 3-drop removal like Fran. Fran's a lot more flexible. Of course, Fran has anti-synergy with resurrection because she's a 0/1. You don't want to resurrect 0/1. So if you really want to run maybe like Osiris or Baal or something, maybe use Soul Steal instead of Fran. But I think there's probably better removal in Soul Steal as well. This card gets a 2 out of 5. And then we have Circe, 5 play point, 1/4. It has Clash, deal 3 damage to enemy follower, and at any return restore 3 damage to your leader. It's very strong Clash. Pretty much you will evolve her, and I don't think she'll take any damage when she attacks, and it makes it harder for your opponent to trade into her. So pretend she has like 3 more attacks. She's like a 6/6 kind of. And Fanfare put a Eternal Vow in your hand. Eternal Vow is a 6 play point spell. Subtract 2 from the cost of all Shadowcraft followers in your hand. This is a ridiculous card. All Shadowcraft cards in your hand, so even the spells. So if you any 2 drops in your hand, you can immediately play with this, so you don't lose tempo if you have 2 drops in your hand, because you can play those immediately. And then it sets up you for a very powerful turn 7. Like you play Arcus for 5 and then have a whole bunch of play points left over. All of your 2 drops will be cost 0, so you can save them maybe. There's so many uses for this card. It's like hard to go over all of them. This card has so much combo potential. And you start off with a good tempo card. It's not maybe as good as like Cerberus for tempo, but generating the Eternal Vow is very nice. Might be hard to play 3 of this card because she comes clunky after the first copy is played. So maybe run 2 instead of 3. I think I'm going to give her a 4.5 out of 5. I think this card has very high potential because of Eternal Vow. And it's a nice defensive card, healing you 3 and having a lot of a decent amount of stats. I have 2 blood cards left. Liberté, 2 play point 2/2. This is part of the Enhanced 7 group. She gets +3/+3 and deal 2 damage to enemy leader, restore 4 defense to your leader. So she's a 5/5 with that effect. And then she has, during your turn, whenever another allied follower evolves, deal 1 damage to enemy leader and restore 2 defense to your leader. So maybe you play this in an aggressive Bloodcraft deck to get that extra 1 damage in while restoring your life. This card's nice if there's some kind of aggro mirror match, because this will not only push your damage in, it will also heal you. So very good for aggro mirror matches. I don't think there's going to be a lot of aggro mirror matches, but I don't know the future, so maybe this will see play if there's those kind of games. Enhance 7 for 2 damage is a lot. It doesn't do anything on the board, so I think it's pretty weak for the Enhance 7, but it's an option. I think this card's It's like okay. It's like a 2.5. It's a 2 play.22 with an upside. Can't go wrong with that. Metal Blade Demon, 5 play.43 with Machina. Fanfare, draw X cards, X equals number of allied Machina followers in play. And it has Evolve. If you have at least 2 other Machina followers in your hand, deal 2 damage to an enemy follower. 2 damage is pretty weak for an Evolve on a 5-drop. Especially with, he's understated. He's understated because you draw cards off of him, potentially like more than 1. But there's better draw cards for Blood. But he's a Machina card, so he has synergy with Mono. Yeah, I don't know about Machina Bloodcraft. He doesn't seem very good to me. I'm going to give this guy a 2 out of 5. But might be wrong. Mono might be a very strong deck. White Heart, 2 play.22 with the enhanced 7. He gains +4/+4. And the next time damage is dealt to this follower, reduce it to 0. Note that this will not protect you from Bane. 0 damage from Bane is still lethal damage. And also during your turn, whenever an ally follower evolves, reduce the damage to that follower to 0 until turn. Yeah, this is one of the maybe weaker ones. It's maybe along the lines of what the sword one is like. It just makes it harder for your opponent to remove your stuff because they'll have more stats around. Because when you're evolving that follower, it's going to just attack another follower. And maybe it would have died in that trade and it survives. That would make this card pretty nice, but it's very situational. And if those situations don't come up often enough, then this card's not worth it. But it is a 2 play.22 with an upside. So it will get a 2.5 out of 5. Next we have Feather Folk Gardener, 5 play.35 with Fanfare, subtract 1 from the cost of a countdown allied amulet, and during your turn, if an allied amulet is destroyed, evolve this follower. Yeah, that's it's interesting. Obviously, if you subtract the countdown of a allied amulet right away, and he'll get evolve, which is pretty good tempo. You get a free evolve, but of course, you only remove 1 thing off the board, unless that amulet also helps you remove another thing. Then you can get a lot of tempo off of this. Or the amulet could be the Balrog amulet, and you get the Barong amulet, and you get a 5/4 with can't be targeted. That's also very nice. Now, has a lot of potential. I think this card's pretty good. I think I'm gonna rate him a 3, but it's hard to say. Next we have Iron Knuckle Nun, 3 play.23 with Ward, and Fanfare, put a repair mode in your hand. This stat line has always been good in the history of Shadowverse, probably up until now, because now there's a lot of 3/3s, and 3/3s just beat a 2/3. But against aggressive decks that maybe don't run 3/3s, she'll kind of brick wall them in the early game. She puts a repair mode in your hand, which is nice. She's also a Machina card. The repair modes in Haven have the upside of maybe activating a Tenko Shrine. There's also the Father Roboman guy. He'll make your repair mode cost 0, so you get a bunch of free healing. So it's just like a decent statted follower that you can use with Lamonia as well. I think she's a 2.5 in my books. In the middle of the ground, or in the middle of the pack. Yeah, Father Refinement, Father Robo guy. Moving on, we have a whole bunch of portal cards. They waited to the last second to release them all. First, we have Pull the Strings, 4 play point spell. Banish an enemy follower that costs 2 play points or less, then summon an allied copy of that follower. If Resonance act for you, put a puppet in your hand. 2 is pretty low. Like, you're not going to get too many things that have 2 life. Maybe you get like a Vera that attacked something with 4 attack, then she goes down to 2 life. It has really high potential. because the follower you get back would be the base follower. So it'd be unevolved and have full health. It's not like you steal it in the current state. You steal it and it reverts back to its original state. Its removal also gives you tempo, but it's very situational. I'm gonna give it 2.5. I don't think you're unhappy to put this card in your deck, but I don't think it has enough consistency. Next we have Creeping Slime. It's an adorable little slime, and it has, looks like Y. Okay, 3.22 can't be attacked. Enhance 6, evolve this follower. And yeah, so it's an ivory dragon. It's like these kind of cards are meant to be aggressive because they're hard to remove. So you just go face with this, but it doesn't really threaten the opponent too much. And there's a lot of removal. I'll just get rid of it. The Enhance 6, just evolve the follower, get a 4/4 for 6 with Rush. That's pretty bad, unless you really want this evolve a follower effect for maybe Odin. Yeah, this gets a 2 out of 5. Next we have Mia, Angelic Doll, 2 play.22, hand 7, gain +3/+3, and put 2 puppets in your hand. During your turn, whenever another allied follower evolves, put a puppet in your hand. This is a good effect. Getting a puppet for extra is nice. Just getting a free puppet. But for 2/2, gain 1 puppet. That's just all right. Enhance 7. Get a 5/5. Get 2 puppets in your hand. Not really what you want to do for 7 play points, but if you're desperate, it's an okay play. Yeah, like 2.5 is just pretty average. Again, it's 2 play.22 with upside. Can't rate it too badly. Here's the core for Portalcraft, Alpha Core. Enhance 7, cover 1 evolution point. During your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, put 2 analyzing artifacts, 2 ancient artifacts, and 2 bifurcating artifacts into your deck. Recover 2 play points and banish this amulet. So you get 6 artifacts in your deck, and they're like decent artifacts, and you get 2 play points back. But the downside is where do you find the turn to play this? You play it on turn 4. You can't really play it on turn 4. Play turn 5, and then you evolve a 2-drop. Maybe. Is there enough payoffs for artifacts? There's payoffs, but it's a little bit harder to pull off. I think it's not terrible. Again, I hate rating everything in average, but it seems like an average card to me. Actually, 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. Rate a little bit lower. Displacer Bot, 5 play.45 with put an Acceleratum in your hand. Put a random artifact card from your deck into your hand. This is the new Deus Ex. This is your Deus Ex replacement. Not really. Acceleratum is rotating out. So this is kind of like what you get. You have to play a pretty poorly statted follower to get a really powerful card. And you draw a card, so that's not too bad actually. I think this is actually pretty good. 3 out of 5. Don't see too much issues aside from how much it costs. But after you get the Acceleratum, you will gain a lot of tempo back, potentially. Especially, you automatically get an artifact in your hand. Mecha Gun Wielder. 1 play.11 Machina card. Fanfare, put a random artifact card from your deck in your hand. Awesome. And Enhance 8, put 2 random artifact cards into your hand instead. Recover 7 play points. Awesome. 1 play point, draw 2 artifacts. So good. This card's really good. Even if there's no artifact portal in rotation, this will go right into the artifact portal for unlimited. I will give her a 4 out of 5. Very, very strong. Next we have Augmentation Bestowal. 1 play point gold. Give your leader the following effect until the end of this turn. Whenever an allied artifact card comes into play, recover 1 play point and draw a card. This card's actually broken. Even, like, this is like your only payoff for playing artifacts, aside from maybe a few things, but this is your main payoff. This lets you cycle through your deck super hard, even without Deus Ex. Yeah. Super, super good. Deus Ex replacement, kinda. Like, I was joking about the Displacer bot, but this is like a real thing. In this also stacks. So if you stack 2 of them, your artifact cards will give you 2 play points back and draw you 2 cards. You might deck out, but if you're playing artifacts, you shouldn't deck out. And if you have the Acceleratum from the Displacer bot, then you can go super crazy. The opponent will probably never have a board again. And you'll stack up a bunch of dead followers for Maisha. Very, very strong 5 out of 5 card. Also can be played with Deus Ex for some insane deck for unlimited. Next we have Xion, 9 play point 7/7. Accelerate 5, give +1/+1 to all non-artifact followers. And then, allied non-artifact followers, and give +2/+2 to all allied artifact followers. Then if you play her regularly, she has Fanfare. Give your leader the following effect. Can't take more than 1 damage at a time. This effect lasts until this follower leaves play, and can't be destroyed by spells and effects. So she's a big body that just kind of stops you from dying until she's removed, which is okay. It's a little bit slow, but also potentially a game-winning play in certain situations. She saves you from like OTK from Arcus. The followers from Arcus would have to deal with her, but when they attack her, they'll die. So they won't attack 3 times from Fran. I'm sorry, Fairy. They won't you won't die to Fairy OTK, because the followers will have to run into her unless the opponent has a way of removing her. But she doesn't die to Bane or anything like that. This is meta specific, but the Accelerate 5 is okay. It's nice to have an option on a card that's defensive. Yeah, having an aggressive option. I'm gonna give her a 3 out of 5. A little bit slow at 9. Next we have Gilius, Silver Beast Lord, 7 play point 4/7 with Machina. Rush, Fanfare, put a Gillian Aura and a Gillian Howl into your hand. Whenever this follower takes damage, if the follower is not destroyed, summon an Assembly Droid. So he attacks, you get an Assembly Droid because he takes damage. The Howl, 0, deal 1 damage to an allied follower, deal 2 damage to an enemy follower. So use it on the Silver Beast Lord. You get another Assembly Droid, you deal 2 damage to another enemy follower. And you have the Aura, which is 3 play points, give +2/+2 to all Machina followers. So it's your Machina payoff for Portalcraft. He kind of just like works by himself because this buffs the Assembly Droids that he makes, but I don't know if that's good enough. Kind of costs a lot. A nice tempo play, but it doesn't really move you towards a win con. You kind of just use this to maybe stall until you get Maisha. He's not bad. I think he's like a 3 out of 5. You gain a lot of different things from him. You gain a lot of bodies. You get removal, and you get potentially more stats. Have Warring Thunder, 2 play point 2/2, enhance 5, evolve his follower. Last words, deal X damage to a random enemy follower. X equals the number of times that allied followers have evolved this match. Interesting card. Enhance 5, evolve his follower. 4/4 rush for 5. Not very good. But 2 play point 2/2. No upside until you evolve him. And its evolve is not that good until you maybe have 2 or 3 evolves. By the time that turns around, you don't really want to evolve a 2/2 anymore. And Enhance 5 is pretty weak. 2 out of 5 for me. Even though he's a 2/2 with upside, the upside he just has to work so hard for this upside. Next we have the Warring Flame. 3 play point 3/2 evolves into a 3/2. And during your turn, whenever another allied follower evolve this follower. Clash, deal 2 damage to an enemy follower. Very good clash. So you think of this as a 3 play point 2/3 rush with that very good clash. It's kind of awkward if you're going second. You have to maybe wait an extra turn to play this. Unless you're evolving a 1-drop or something like that. Yeah, it doesn't seem too bad. Especially if your deck's running a lot of 2-drops. It also does 5 damage. Because of the 2 damage and the 3 damage. It's not actually that bad. I can see this maybe running something like a mid-range Shadowcraft deck or mid-range Force, something like that. Yeah, I think it's a 2.5 out of 5. Could be more. I think that card's pretty good. Next we have Heaven's Gate. 5 playpoint amulet. Invocation. At the end of your turn, if you have at least 5 playpoints and an allied Heaven's Gate is not in play, put a Heaven's Gate from your deck into play. Until this amulet leaves play, both leaders have the following effect. At the start of your turn, subtract 3 from the cost of a random card in your hand. If there are no duplicate cards in your deck, subtract 10 instead. So you pay 5 play points, even if you don't have it in your hand. Then your opponent subtracts a card from subtracts 3 from a card in their hand, and then they get a huge tempo turn on you. And then you get maybe if you want to play some no duplicate deck because it's really bad if you don't. You subtract 10 from a random card. Maybe that card helps you get the tempo back, and then you just can win the game from there. But it's so random, and it gives your opponent such a strong turn. I think this card's pretty weak. It's like funny. Also, a note that you can't run 3 copies of Omen of One anymore in your no duplicate deck, because this does not specify that you can have 3 copies of him if you want to run Heaven's Gate with Omen of One. Yeah, it's really bad. It's like a 1 out of 5. Actually loses you the game if you play it. And lastly, we have Odin, the War God Ascendant. 7 play point 4/3 with Storm. And Invocation at the start of your 10th turn or later. If at least 6 allied followers have evolved this match, put this card from your deck into play. Whenever this follower attacks, enemy follower deal X damage to the follower before it can deal any damage in return. X equals this follower's attack. Yeah, this is very interesting. They're giving us a lot of ways of evolving followers without having to use evolve points. So the idea is you just do a lot of that, and then you get a free Odin on turn 10. So this works really well with cards like Gremory. You can evolve like a bunch of followers for free, and then maybe you save Odin and then use Fairy on Odin and you win with that. So that could be a thing. There's a bunch of other cards that will give you free evolves, like Galmiu, stuff like that. So I don't know, it has potential. It's a lot of work. 6 evolves is a lot, so pretty much you have to evolve turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, turn 9. That's your 6 evolves. If you're evolving from turn 4, then you can get them out. Of course, you want to play cards that also evolve, maybe alongside something else. So it's not like evolving is a bad thing. It just you have to add these extra cards that give you extra evolves. I'm gonna give him a nice 3 out of 5 because I think he has potential. Also, just play him for 7 for 4/3. Maybe get some extra damage and win the game with that. I don't know. Alright guys, that's all of the cards from Steel Rebellion. Let me know what you think in the comments. And in the next few days, I'm going to be testing a lot of decks. Super interested in Shadow and Haven. These seem really cool. Okay, guys. See you guys later.